Welcome to SoulShift, the podcast where deep curiosity, grounded science, and everyday insight come together to spark meaningful transformation. Whether this is your first time listening or you've been with us for a while, we're so glad you're here. I'm Christine, Morgenstern Shin, joined today by my co-host, Allie Anderson. And today we're diving into something deeply human, the longing to be seen, the courage to be known, and how to reconnect with our truth when fear or disconnection gets in the way. Our guest is the radiant and insightful Mya Moon. Mya is a Tantric Priestess and a Somatic energy healer who helps people remember what it feels like to truly be seen and brave enough to fully be known. Her work guides clients from the aches of disconnection to relief of deep trust. She teaches the sacred art of communication, knowing when to say yes, when to say no, and how to speak from the body's truth instead of the mind's fear.
Welcome to SoulShift, where modern science, ancient wisdom, and real life align.
SoulShift offers a peaceful pause in your week, a gentle reminder that meaningful change doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Together, we'll discover practical tools, we'll share authentic conversations, and honor the beautiful complexity of being human.
This is your invitation to breathe, to reflect, and to trust the process.
Thank you for being here. Let's shift
gently
together.
Mya, thank you so much, and welcome to SoulShift.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thanks, Allie. I'm really excited for today's conversation.
Same here. We really enjoyed getting to know you from behind the scenes. And, what I saw was that your work invites people into such deep reclaiming of their voice, meaning like they're speaking their truth, their boundaries. And to set the stage for our audience, can you start by telling us, what does intimacy really mean to you?
Just to preface, the English language is so definitive, and there's also our own relationship with how we project and receive information. So intimacy is going to mean really something different for everybody. But what intimacy means to me is the ability to be in someone's presence where your nervous system feels so safe and you can relax and breathe in that moment. And it's the point in which you intersect where you both can see each other and feel each other. And there's this, ultimately, what you're saying earlier, it's the ability to actually be seen on a much deeper level. But intimacy can look like many things. So there's intimacy from a mother to her son, and it's that deep, unconditional love. There's intimacy with friendships, like sisterhood. Like you would just do anything for your sisters, right? And then there's intimacy with lovers, with how you want to engage in that intersection to really receive that sweetness. There's a sweetness to intimacy. But in Tantra and what I teach, there's an intimacy to everything around you. So there's an intimacy to your food. So it's a way of relating and connecting and being able to have that intimacy as a part of the joy in the experience.
I love your definition, and I love the lens that you look at intimacy at, and I love that it includes everything and anything. Like, it's not just people, it's not just yourself, it's not your lover, but it sounds like you're pulling in the senses of all the different joys of life, including food. So that's really beautiful.
Yeah, I really feel that the way we do one thing is the way that we do everything. I feel like society has been conditioned to compartmentalize. This is how I show up at work professionally. This is how I show up as a father. This is how I show up in these specific scenarios. But what I feel that people are missing is that unconsciously, the essence of who you are is going to come out in everything. And so if we have an intimate relationship with the simplicity of just objects and things in front of us, we're actually going to naturally and organically just be that way with others around us.
Wow, Mya, that is such a powerful message and really a unique and fun way to start thinking about how we approach everything in life. That's a wonderful challenge for myself as well. Well, I told you before we got on this call, I was having so much fun looking through your Instagram and looking at all your reels and your stories and your messaging. And one of the things that I heard you speak about was your SAFE framework, which I think was SAFE. I'd love for you to talk into what SAFE means and how that relates deeply to intimacy.
Okay, so this totally was channeled, which was so crazy because I'm actually so excited about it. And the SAFE framework is the sacred art of intimacy, and how we connect here is really verbally is a major role in how we connect with people. They're communication tools that are gateways to deeper trust, to feel safety and a deeper way of feeling seen and heard. So the S stands for your sacred yes and your sacred no. And this goes into knowing what your heart's deepest desire is and speaking from that, having no shame around it, but knowing that your desires are pure. Getting rid of thinking that it's selfish, but really just knowing that you get to express that part of yourself and people want to give that to you. And your sacred no, I would find this is probably one of the most challenging things when I work with my clients are boundaries and the eloquence to be able to say no. And no doesn't have to be a end all be all. It can still be a collaborative play. You can still say no from laughter. You can still have the strength of your own autonomy and be respected and received with that, and have your no's actually create an even safer container. I think one of the most profound things for me is when I say no, most people come back to me and say, wow, I actually trust you more because now I know that I can just be me and you have the autonomy to keep yourself safe, and therefore I feel safer with you. And A is for authenticity as the highest frequency. I think there are so many studies now around how authenticity is a higher vibration than even love itself. And it's because you're tapping into the true sense of who you are. And this is a space in which you're stripping the conditioned responses or ways in which you think you have to show up in certain spaces, the mask that I was talking about. And how are you showing up from the depths of who you want to be and enjoy that part of yourself, enjoy being seen in that. And F is for flow of reciprocity. And this is really, really important, specifically for women, because it's so easy to give. It's been such a challenge to learn how to receive and surrender. And so this is beyond just reciprocity of communicating, but it's really learning how to equally receive in the amount that you give. And it's not about a tit for tat and tallying, because I can give to you, but receive from the universe somewhere else. It's just that constant exchange of giving and receiving from different forms, but also the flow of reciprocity. I'm finding that when it comes to relating, so many people are dying to be seen. There's a scarcity of space. So in the flow of reciprocity, asking yourself, how much are you listening? And not just listening to what they're saying, but receiving what it is that they're saying and like fully listening to that. So that's also an element of it. I'm sharing really just like the high level because all of these clearly, they go a lot deeper. And then E stands for embodiment. It's the embodiment of communication, which means everything that I just shared. How are you sharing these parts of yourself from a space of a relaxed nervous system and you're already safe within yourself? And that these things that are coming out of you are actually coming from the heart, coming from the womb, coming from the root. And you're actually living these expressions and they're not just of the mind.
That is so beautiful, and it touches so many points and really resonates. And I work with women who are my age, and we have all spent decades overriding our own needs, right? We're all mothers and we have jobs, and we very much put our own needs on the back burner. So I wanted to ask you, it can be challenging when we reach this point in our life to really understand the sacred no that you speak of, right? How do we say a sacred no without feeling guilty? And I wanted to ask you, how can we recognize the difference between a true no in our body and a sort of conditioned yes? And it's sort of a people pleasing, or we say yes out of fear, and instead we really want to embody a sacred no. What does that feel like in the body?
Oh gosh. I mean, this is such a loaded question because first off, every single person is different. Every person receives their own wisdom in different ways. So some will receive pings like chills. Their womb will start, tickling, or like, when people say like, oh, I have a gut feeling, things like that. So in terms of using and working with the body to help you with answers, you get to learn how to intimately build that relationship with yourself to start learning that language. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you're talking about, well, how do I know what is an actual no? And then what is a conditioned yes, which is obligation for women is probably one of the most biggest challenges. It's like, oh, I'm obligated to show up for this thing, for my kids or like for my community or for my partner, whatever it is. And where is that obligation coming from? Really understanding when you are saying yes to something, asking yourself, why am I saying yes? Like really inquiring, because if you're saying yes and then you just continue on with your day without even thinking about why you're saying yes, then the chance of it being conditioned is pretty high. Then how do I even know it's a no? Another thing with communication is this society has created such an urgency. Like time is so scarce. And I love to say like your urgency is not my emergency. So if you ask me a question, I'm not going to respond right away if I don't have the clarity. So there have been times when I'm in full conversation with someone and I'll say, excuse me, I'm not getting a clear answer. Can you give me a moment? And I will literally sit there and I'll close my eyes and I'll tune in and I'll actually check in with myself, because conversations are so nuanced and they're so complex. Like humans are so complex. And sometimes it's not a clear yes or no. And that's where you get to play in the in-between of negotiating or collaborating a experience, right? Like, I guess my biggest example is someone recently had asked me if they could kiss me. And very, very attractive human. And in my mind, I was like, oh my God, yes. And I'm not in a position to do that because of where I am in my relationship. So if I would have said no, which was true, then that would have cut off the connection and I probably would have never, seen this person again. But what I chose to say was, I'm a yes, and it's a no right now because of where I am in my life. And I'm hoping that you and I can create the safety and the trust to that point. Do you feel the difference?
I do.
Oh yeah, I see your smile right now. That's how he responded. He was like, oh my God, I want to trust you more because now when we do kiss, I am safe as the masculine to show up for you and know that you want to be there. And two, like it created excitement and anticipation. And he's just like, oh, we're definitely going to stay connected. Right. And men love that. So in terms of the no, cleaning that up and summarizing that up is that when you take a moment to tune into yourself and get that clarity, even though there is time and patience that they are waiting for your answer, when the answer comes, it comes from confidence because you trust yourself. It comes from a certainty and a knowing, which all of this is going to emit to the person in front of you and continues to build trust and connection and transparency. And that's really how you create a foundation of like true intimacy.
Mya, what I'm loving about this conversation and how you're sharing with us, I mean, this is through how I feel. Energetically, I can definitely feel you. And I can see that you're living your life through a very regulated nervous system lens. How you mentioned about another person's emergency isn't yours, isn't your urgency. I mean, that was gold right there. Like, if you take one thing home and just take that, I think women listening would be a heck of a lot more regulated, safe, confident, and just empowered, like feeling empowered. Like, who is someone else to push us along, right? So that really stuck with me. And I love that you're feeling everything. And it's almost the way I share it is like an experiential embodiment, because each person experience is going to be completely different. All three of us here today could be outdoor concert and all have a different way of describing what the heck happened, right? And so I love how you're applying this to day-to-day life for people to understand more of what their true self is, to connect to that. Then you can connect to somebody else with a stronger and more pure, I think, communication. I'm loving it. And I wanted to ask, you mentioned about being your true self is that higher frequency than love. And, usually fear and ego is at the bottom. If we go up that emotional scale, love's on top. If you're looking at authenticity as higher than love, what does that actually mean in practice? Like, I understood what you said logically, but can you share with the audience, what does that feel like? And what is that if you're moving throughout your day?
I'm just breathing this in because in the personal development, spiritual community, the word authenticity is thrown around so much. And the reality is that the depth in which you experience something, let's say a word, is the depth in which you access for yourself. So authenticity is a very deep experience on a mental and emotional and physical level. And to me, authenticity is the willingness to be fully seen in the totality of who you are. And when I say totality, that means both the light and the dark. So when I say the light, I'm also talking about being able to be proud of your successes, being able to be that light and the star in the room and not worrying about taking up space. And in terms of the shadows, being okay that you are human and you're just not perfect. The ability to laugh at yourself because you are so dramatic, or you threw a tantrum, or that you just cried in the middle of a gathering for no apparent reason. But being able to own those parts of yourself and not adding on other layers of guilt, shame, worrying about how people are going to judge you, worrying about what other people are going to think. And authenticity also includes recognizing what parts of you are responding from a conditioned response and what parts are actually true to you. So I had this conversation with someone the other day because I used to be a professional dancer and model. And in that realm, at 21, I chose to get a breast augmentation and liposuction. And this is my first time ever saying this out loud. Like, no one even knows this. So this is me.
I'm glad you feel safe enough to share it. So continue. Yeah.
That, and also I need to be a role model for authenticity. So here it is to the world. But the intention of sharing that is that I was 21 years old. I was tiny. I didn't need lipo. I was already perfect as I was. I didn't need a breast augmentation. But at will, I chose to do that because of the conditioned women around me, and that's what everyone else was doing. So was that actually authentic? No, because I never tuned in with myself, and I only did it because everyone else was. And that's what it actually means to have a conditioned response. Thinking that you are doing it at will when really you're influenced by the external world versus making decisions from your body's intuition, right? And the last part of authenticity is the ability to bridge the external world and the internal world, and allowing that emergence in how you operate in your internal realm and how you choose to engage with the external realm. And in that is the truth of both, and being able to be in that power for yourself and being unshakable in that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I love that you continuously bringing our listeners back into the inner wisdom so they can get grounded and understand there's going to be all that external noise out there. Like you said, when you were 21, it was a beautiful example that you're saying, hey, let's reconnect, go inside, and then you can connect with others. And I feel like this is really relevant because so many people are either shut down or disconnected or feeling frozen, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, like in their lives. There's a lot of loneliness. It could be just because low self-worth, low self-love, maybe they didn't put themselves first. But I think for a lot of people, tell me if you agree, they've been performing for so long, they just don't even know what they want. Like they're just so stuck, So if someone's listening and they feel like they've lost their voice, what's one small practice they could start today to start coming home back to themselves? Is there anything you can share, whether it's a practice or an insight, what have you?
Yeah. So, Chris, first off, like you asking me this question, it's making me so emotional because I literally just made a video of this on Instagram about how exhausting it is to perform because we always feel like we have to be on. Just imagine when you're exercising, right? Like it becomes stronger. If you've been performing your entire life, which I've been performing for the last 40 years, the stuckness is because you've exercised that muscle and that's literally all you know. And so if we're talking about someone who has been exercising this for decades, then the most simple exercise that I'm going to recommend is to fully get yourself into a fully relaxed state within the physical body. So the nervous system, as I've been talking about. So doing a full body scan, making sure that your jaw is unlocked, your shoulders are relaxed, release your belly, release your mula bandha, which is ultimately like the perineum, like really open that up because that's the portal to receiving wisdom from the root all the way up. And when you're in that state, simply asking yourself, dear body, what do you want to tell me right now?
Once they ask, do they just sit and soak and just wait for an answer or?
Wait. Sit and wait. Because if this is not a practice that you're used to, you're not going to hear anything right away. And if you don't hear anything, sit for just a couple minutes. If you have a full schedule, sit for a couple minutes. If you love to meditate, that is your question for meditation, and just sit for as long as you'd like. But if you do this every day, what's going to happen is you're going to start tuning into what your body and your soul needs. And when you connect to that, that is the space of authenticity. That is the space where you're going to get clarity from your sacred yes or your sacred no, and everything in this safe framework. Because what is missing, like the preface or like the prerequisite for this, is that children have never been taught, what do you want? They've literally been conditioned to think in how others are thinking. Like, ultimately, our schools are training kids to just work for someone else. Ultimately, our kids are just given a template of like, do you want to be an astronaut, a lawyer, or a doctor? Kids are not asked, like, what do you want and how can we cultivate that, right? So as we continue to get older, that is why, specifically women, we're constantly supporting people outside of ourselves. And that's why we lose ourselves and we're not thinking about ourselves, is because we're never asking, what is it that I want? Not what I want for my community, not what I want for my family, not for what I want for my health, which can be an element, but like, what do I want and need in this moment to just be able to relax into my body, even just for 1 minute? And it can be very challenging. It's a breakthrough for some women to get to that point. So that's the foundation, is really building an intimate relationship with yourself and getting to know yourself and getting to know what your clear desires and intentions and what do you want your day to look like every day. And that is your map that is going to lead you into being able to express authenticity, expressing your yes and no. And that's how you don't feel guilty, is because you have a framework and you're clear. Like, when you're coming from your truth, there is no fear. No one can argue truth.
Okay, I love this because there's a question. Tell me if you resonate with this. If somebody's really frustrated or confused, of course, let's get in the body first so you can think clearly, but then ask, do I want to answer from a seat of either love or fear? I don't know. Say someone invited them to go do an event. They'll be the host of the event. But when they think about it, external accolade, that might be a great idea. But maybe when they sit with it, they might ask themselves, am I going to say yes out of love or out of fear? And that's what I'm hearing from you. You're guiding us in this way that's so beautiful that we only can show up as our authentic self. To me, the most fulfilling place to live. I just love the way you approach how you're working with clients.
Thank you. I would love to expand, because what you're saying is yes, but there are more layers than just love and fear, right? But asking yourself, where is this response coming from? And just getting clear with that. And it's okay if a response is coming from fear, because everything is nuanced. Because when there is fear, is it real unsafety fear? Or is it fear because you're on the brink of greatness? And you get to decide. So it's really asking yourself, when I'm responding, where is it actually coming from? And leaning into that. Because that will be the basis of whether or not you move forward, take a step back, or just surrender and wait for the next answer.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you for clarifying, because I appreciate how you went another level deeper. That I think it's just really helpful for the audience. And, obviously this work you're doing, you've done it so intimately with your clients, and you've clearly have walked this path yourself, because there's no way you can teach without, right? Can you share a moment, whether it's from your life or from your work, where speaking your truth changed like literally everything, even if it was, like you said, fearful, like even if it was terrifying?
So this is actually really alive for me right now. So I have been in the realm of being of service to women in my community pretty much my entire life. And just working as a coach, that has been probably the last 10 years. Recently, I'm finally coming out as a Tantric priestess and somatic energy healer. And this is where speaking my truth has literally been one of the most profound experiences of my life. So what has held me back is that there are so many connotations around Tantra being connected to sexuality. And I was so afraid that people were going to think I was like the sex worker. And my family is super conservative. And I was just petrified that society was going to cast me as a disgrace.
Oh my God.
And then being a somatic energy healer, I mean, I've been in corporate forever and have been very successful. So it's in a very logical, practical mind of, you have a problem, this is a solution. This is my business. These are the tangible results that you're going to have. And being in this energetic space, I'm like, I don't know what the outcome is going to be, because the medicine is its own wisdom. You just have to trust that it's going to work. You're going to just have to trust that the karmic wounds are going to be cleaned, that your ancestral lineage is being repaired. And that's the space that I really need people to be in working with this, is the absolute trust. So I have literally been hiding this part of myself for the last 10 years. And I've been using other words like coach and, helping the divine feminine. But no, I am a tantric priestess and somatic energy healer. And the moment that I stepped into that and totally had my reveal, my community shifted. They have stepped up and have helped me more. The abundance is coming in. So the clients, the people, the mentors, it's as if the moment that I stepped into the absolute truth and was honest, all the fears that came up of people judging me, that wasn't there. Like, I'm not even getting any judgment. People are just like, I see you. Thank you for your purity. We've been waiting for this. And now, because I'm clear about who I am, people know how to show up for me. The collaborations have been so phenomenal. I'm working with some of the biggest leaders that I have so much respect for, because I know who I am. People know what to do with me. And that's been so profound.
I loved how you introduced your new role. I really enjoyed how you shifted from corporate to this new and beautiful world, and you kind of muddled your way through the word coach and getting to where you are. And you're an inner goddess. Like, that's how I feel, and that you're attracting the clientele that sounds like very, centered to your work, and also attracting whoever else that you're collaborating with. It just seems like the alignment is absolutely can't be any better, right? And you remind me of someone who was like chasing things before, and forgive me if I'm incorrect. Now you're completely aligned, and you're definitely not grasping, you're just receiving now, it sounds like, which is just absolutely, absolutely incredible.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that leads to something really, really important to share with everybody, because I can sit here and share, this is where I am today. And you can feel the strength and the unshakableness. And it's like, well, how did I even get here? And I had mentioned that it's been the last 10 years. And what I can just share with everyone is stay focused on the practice, because me being here now, it organically came just on time. Because for the last 10 years, the universe needed to put me in the training of this mastery, the ability to refine. I am who I am because I have been in my practices as a devoted disciple of Tantra for the last 10 years. I've only worked with masters, and I do the work. I do the embodiment work. And so I'm sharing this because yes, you can speak your truth, you can be authentic. But what is the every single day habits that you're doing to get you to actually be the person that you want to be? And everything else is just going to organically emerge as it should.
Thank you for sharing this because you just gave the biggest takeaway from the standpoint of it's practical, it's simple, but it's very, very, very powerful. Having that consistency of the embodiment in whatever your personal practice is by going inside. I mean, that's where you're going to feel a shift. This isn't a one-off. This isn't every once a week, once a month, right? And there's so much wisdom in this, you know? And I love how you turn everything back to the body, to the inner wisdom, and what I think is the truth, because that's where healing really begins. I feel like healing literally begins from within. You've been such a gift today. Your voice, your presence, your heart. Before we close, if you have any closing points you'd like to share with the audience, and then I want to transition into where they can find you because people need to know you're here and you're available for connecting. I want to shout from the rooftops.
If I were to just share one more thing, there are a million things to share. And more of just continuing what you just shared about how I'm constantly bringing it back inward. I think this is probably the gift that I would like to offer today, because Ali asked this earlier about, how do you know if this is your no or if this is a conditioned response? And really that foundation is coming from, how can I show up for my community? How can I not be considered selfish? How can I contribute more and be of service? And the irony is that I'm always focusing inward, but in that focusing inward is overflowing to get me to that end goal, which is to be able to contribute to my community, to be able to have intimacy with those around me, to be able to be more of service. So I think this culture has really gotten it backwards. It's like, let's drain ourselves and overcompensate and only think about the external world. But then we get resentful and we burn out and then we're confused. And so it's a little backward, but if you focus on your internal world, you'll actually have more connection with your external world.
I love that. It's like the beautiful butterfly effect. Like, because you're so secure of who you are and confident and it's natural that people can feel that. We hear it, but we can also feel it. You can co-regulate. You can connect with others more natural, aligned, energetic level. And that's love. Like, that's beautiful.
Let's all co-regulate. Let's go. Yeah.
Let's co-regulate together. So before we close, Mya, I would love for you to share where people can find you and any resources that you're offering.
Yeah. Right now, you can find me on Instagram at Sacred Mya Moon, and I'll have all of my links on there, like my link tree, my blog, all of the other social medias that I am on. And in terms of my gift, as of right now, I have a 100-page document called The Sacred Feminine Codes. And these are 4 codes that can support you through this journey of tapping more into your authentic self, getting to know yourself, being embodied in your sensuality, your creativity, your magnetism. And so I poured my heart into this. When it comes to freebies, like, I'm just so over getting the one-pagers. Like, just know that I literally poured myself into this months to create this as an offering to my community. And I just really hope that you enjoy it.
That's amazing. I mean, anyone can put together a one-pager. I can feel the outpouring of love, and I might download it myself. My gosh, 100 pages. You've got a book in the works, my friend.
Yes, calling in a agent as we speak. I have 3 books in, so it just started.
Congratulations. Well, thank you again, Maya. And to our listeners, if today's episode touched you, we'd love for you to share it with us. Share it with someone you care about. Leave us a review. Just let you know what landed for you, because there were so many pearls in this conversation. We'll see you next time for another heart-opening conversation here at SoulShift, where we explore the power of healing from the inside out. Until then, be gentle with yourself and stay curious. Keep listening to your truth. Bye, guys.
Hi.
Thank you for sharing this sacred time today.
We hope something in this conversation touched your heart
and offered nourishment for your soul's journey.
Remember, transformation is most effortless when it happens one tender shift at a time.
Until next week, we invite you to carry one insight from today into your life.
Not as a task.
Think of it as a superpower to yourself.
If something resonated, we'd love to hear from you. If you're joining us on YouTube, feel free to leave us a comment below.
Your words ripple outward, offering connection and comfort to others walking this path beside you.
If SoulShift feels like home, please subscribe and consider leaving us a review.
Your support will help us reach more hearts that need to hear they're not alone.
We're holding you in love, so know you're not alone. Your journey matters.
May your heart be filled,
and may your path be filled with grace.